All right, so just wanted to do a quick video of the 20, whatever this thing is, 20-inch drill press from Harbor Freight. Got a lot of Harbor Freight stuff, as you can see. Got this one to replace the smaller one, the 16 speed, whatever size this one is. That thing, as you can see, has gotten a lot of use. I've had it many years. It's never given me any issues at all. Probably don't treat it as good as I should either. It gets wet, as you can see, but it's never had any issues at all. Just got a real good deal on this one. Decided it was time to move up a little bit. You see the difference in the size. One of the things that people complain about this is the height of how it seems to be a little bit too low for where you would want to see the drill bit. So made a stand for it, which also doubles as rolling stand. Obviously you can see it's just a Harbor Freight furniture dolly. I use these for everything. I actually buy them whenever they're on sale. You see a few laying over here. A couple transmissions on some. I stack up tires on them. There's an engine sitting on one. I actually buy the smaller ones when they're on sale, and I steal the casters off of them because, and not to get too sidetracked, see some of my toolboxes here. I use these Harbor Freight wheels, which are total crap. Don't use them. They're supposed to be 300 pounds each, which should have been enough for that. That's actually empty, and they just bend, and the casters aren't very strong at all. The ones on the moving dollies, however, are really strong, and they pretty much hold up to anything so far that I've had, and they don't get flat spots. Those other wheels get flat spots if you don't roll them very much. So, not to get too sidetracked, but another issue people said about this is the bottle, which is kind of worthless. It doesn't reach the drill bit where you're working. You see, my solution to that was just to take, it's normally 2 clips here. I just used one instead, put it at a little bit of an angle. It might slightly limit how much stuff you can put in there, but it'll, I guess, solve the problem temporarily. This light kind of stinks. I'm sure I'll have to get a brighter LED light to replace that. Not sure what these two things are. I believe this might be a plug for if you decide not to use this bottle. This screw, painted gray. If anybody knows what that is, I'm assuming it goes on the body somewhere. No clue what that one's for either. But haven't even used this yet. Actually, well, I did. I used just a test drill bit, but I'm sure it's going to be fine. Like I said, this one I've had for many years. Never failed me, and it's much smaller. So I'm sure this is probably going to be fine. One thing I do wish they would put like a guide on the chucks to get them to go on nice and straight. Had to do this one 3 times and still not perfectly straight. Got a slight wobble. You only notice it with smaller drill bits, but just, one of those things. So a lot of people were talking about how heavy they are. You can't really move it by yourself. Luckily I had my trusty Harbor Freight hydraulic cart. I used that to tilt it down and slowly lower it so I could put the dolly on it and then tilt it back up, and I was able to do it by myself. That thing, by the way, super handy. If you ever get a chance to get one, definitely get it. I use it for everything. As you can see, adjustable miter stand, it gives you a workbench, different heights. Unload and load everything out of the truck. It's ridiculous. But basically, the quick review was for the stand, because a lot of people were talking about how heavy these things are and wondering if they would tilt or fall over or anything on the stand. So I've rolled this all around the shop, no problem. This is one hand, as I'm videotaping, just moves around, no problem. Doesn't feel like it's going to tilt at all. And obviously all the pressure, it presses on itself. So, it's doesn't really, the pressure from the drill press doesn't really affect the rollers. Real quick, one of the best things I ever bought there was this bandsaw, which if you read the reviews on this, also, they say basically throw the feet and the wheels and stuff away right out of the box. They're worthless, and it is. I had read all the reviews, so I didn't even try to make the wheels work. You see what I did. I used a little filing cabinet. You can see I've got filing cabinets everywhere. These things make great toolboxes. Put them on some wheels, obviously not the ones that I had mentioned. but they're super heavy duty. You can put bigger stuff in them. You see the slides. I mean, compared to, you know, the toolboxes I had before, these are much sturdier. Just they make great toolboxes, and they're so deep, so you can stuff a bunch of, you know, big stuff like this in here without, you know, being limited by your regular toolbox. So I got rid of all my old toolboxes, and I use these filing cabinets for everything. The smaller ones like this I use for welding carts. I've got a couple of welding carts made out of them, and obviously this works pretty good because a lot of times you can open the drawer and the pieces will fall down into the drawer when they cut off automatically, and then you can also, you know, store some scraps in there. And this dryer, actually, it's a big Harbor Freight commercial. Basically, it's a Harbor Freight dryer. You have to order it online, but we've used it. We've painted several cars with it, and it actually does a pretty damn good job of cooling and drying the air. So anyway, it's supposed to be a drill press review. While I'm reviewing all the other Harbor Freight stuff, second best, actually probably the first best purchase I ever made at Harbor Freight. I bought pretty much everything there. A lot of stuff good, a lot of stuff bad. You see I'm using my old Delta chop saw over there. You probably noticed that. Probably wouldn't recommend their chop saws. Anything small with motors, you pretty much stay away from with Harbor Freight. Drills, you saw my DeWalt drills laying around. You know, spend the money on a DeWalt. They're pretty much, you know, never break. But on certain things like this toolbox is fantastic. See how I've kind of got it set up. This is the Harbor Freight thing, and I put a Harbor Freight magnet on the back and stick them up there. Harbor Freight sockets, you know, organizers. I do have some, you know, snap-on sockets and things like that, and different brand, you know, tools for different things, but it's set up pretty good. I use these magnet bars all the time, everywhere. You know, as you can see, organizing the wrenches down there. But this thing has been fantastic. Got that little separator off at Harbor Freight also. I also use yoga mats. I don't know if you can see in here, but yoga mats I get at like Goodwill and stuff, and I cut them up to fit the drawers. They're just a lot better than the drawer liners from Harbor Freight, or well, from anywhere. And the last thing, somebody said this was pretty neat. I don't know if you can see it. People complain that there's no like a string or anywhere to put the chuck. So this is how I usually store my drill bits, at least my ones that aren't like super good, that I leave in the box for drilling steel. These are kind of just like, you know, my cheap ones for everyday stuff. But I use one of those magnets for this as well. It's a real easy, simple way. You know, you just grab whatever you need and it comes right off. But I also use it to store the chuck. So just an idea, because that's one of the complaints people had about this, you know, was not having a place to store the chuck. And those magnets, by the way, also, you can see I mean, it's just so easy to just grab whatever you need, and they all, you know, stick back on. So there's a whole Harbor Freight commercial about 10 different Harbor Freight things. But like I said, I purchased just about everything in the store. This has got to be top 3 purchase. The drill press, this little one, which has lasted me years and years, top 3 purchase. And that cart over there, definitely a top 3 purchase. But never really left any reviews, but I made this. I read some of the complaints and things, and so I made that, and it took me probably 10 minutes or so. You see, I had to add this extra piece of 1x that I just had laying around to get this the same flush height as the rest of this, because this, you know, it kind of barely meets the edge, but I wanted it to have plenty of room to settle on, and I had these nuts, bolts laying around. They got to be pretty damn long, probably at least 4, maybe 5 inches to go through all of this and put a nut on the bottom. I only had 2, so I did catacorners for now, but I don't think it'll be a problem. It's been rolling around the shop just fine. But there you go. That's my quick, not so quick review of the drill press and about 20 other Harbor Freight things. Hope it helped.